Hi, lovely ones. I'm back. Now, I have been playing over how to open this episode for far too long than I would care to admit. But yeah, I thought I can't say welcome to because I've changed the name of the show, people. I've changed the name of the podcast. So there's just so much to catch you up on. That's the truth. So the best way to welcome you to the Wellness Business Show was to say, hey, lovelies, I'm back. Now, I am going to really level with you in this episode. It has not been my intention. People may come on and tell you that everything that they do in their business is super strategic and mapped out and planned to the nth degree so that you hold them in some sort of perfect vision that they've got all their shit together. Well, I can tell you, and if you're a client of mine, if you follow me over on Instagram, if you and I have ever met before, you'll know that I've been saying I'm bringing this freaking podcast back for ages. I've been boring myself. I've probably been boring you. And hey, you may have even given up on the idea that this was ever coming back. So this episode, and a big part of why I haven't recorded it, I mean, I've got no problem jumping on here and banging out a million episodes on how to start and grow your wellness business. You know, it's my jam. I've still been doing it day in, day out for the last 18 months. But the reason that I've been kicking this podcast can down the road is because I didn't really know how to open this episode, like how to start, how to come back, because it felt like I'd left it too long, felt like I kept saying it was coming back and it wasn't. It felt like I didn't know how much I should share with everyone as to why the podcast hasn't been here. I was like, is anyone even going to care, right? Like, how often in our businesses do we not do things, like not create content, not put the thing out because we make up this huge story in our head? But in truth, people might not even really care, right? I toyed with the idea of jumping in and just like cracking on as if nothing had happened, giving you an episode on something that I've been talking and teaching about recently, or to try and merge the two. And then I just thought, do you know what? I am, and part of this journey and the story that I'm going to share with you is there has been an evolution, right? There has been a growth. And a really big part of this next level in my business is recognizing that, like, it's cool if some people come along to this episode and think, I don't really care, I'm going to move on. Like, that's cool, you know, like maybe they're not my people. But I've always built business in a way that feels really like connected and feels really meaningful. And my relationships with clients tend to be very long standing. And so there is a part of me that feels it's important not to sugarcoat things, not to only give you half truths, not to put a veneer on everything. Everything is about strategy and, oh yeah, I totally intended for this break. And, the fact that I've been saying it's coming and not is majorly strategic and all those things. Like, I could come and tell you that, but it's just not true. And I think that one of the most important things that I can do in helping you grow your business, as well as give you really simple yet powerful step-by-step strategies, things that you've been used to this podcast, is to be really honest also about how you run a business alongside living a normal life, right? And all of the stuff that comes with that. So, shall we just start there? Let's just start there. So, as I said, the podcast wasn't intended to go on this kind of hiatus. It also wasn't, and I think this is important, something that felt like an easy put down to me. In fact, someone was telling me about a podcast recently that had just done a kind of comeback, and it made me laugh because this person was kind of like, life's just been busy. I've been catching up on certain TV series and I've been I've been just taking some time out and like, brilliant, like that's great. But for me, that wasn't the case. So it hasn't been a case that I've just like been doing other things that I kind of would rather do. I actually have to be really honest that the commitment that I made to myself with this podcast and I feel my community and those that listen is that this would be a really like steadfast, consistent avenue of like communication and marketing for me and my business and my clients. And so actually, although this time's gone incredibly fast and I can't quite believe that my last episode was something like June 24, I also have felt this kind of tug over that entire time that let myself down a little bit here, let you guys down a little bit here. And that might sound really dramatic. And I don't say it to hope that you'll message me and say, not at all, Kirsty, but I say it because that's the truth, right? The highest vision that we have for ourselves and our businesses, sometimes we don't live up to that. And sometimes we're frustrated with ourselves and we're kind of chasing our tail and we can't quite understand why we can't just get our shit together and get it going, right? So it matters to me is what I'm here to say. And it matters to me that I've been off. It matters to me that I haven't stayed consistent with it. But I am really freaking excited and proud of myself for getting back. And the vision I have for this podcast and the grow up that's happened in the time that I've had the break, which I think when I connect back to my, my real belief system and the way that I live my life and the trust I have, I know it was all intended. I know it was all part of the bigger process, but I just want you to know I'm human and it's kind of annoyed me that I have let this one slip. It's felt like a little bit of a, how we hold ourselves to such a high standard to, fulfill the requests or needs or stick with the commitments that we make to other people. And sometimes we just fall short when it comes to ourselves. And I suppose that's been the overarching feeling. And that's why I put this episode off happening, right? But anyway, why have I been off for so long? Well, the truth is that as many of you know, and I feel like I've talked about it in so many places, so some of you might be slightly eye roll, but that's cool, is that, it will actually be 3 years ago in November, my mum passed away. And there has been a sequence of events. There has been like this domino effect of various things that have changed in my life and my business. And there's episodes on the podcast that you can go and listen to and really catch up on all that kind of big, juicy stuff. But one of the big things that happened to me is I went through a separation and have been solo, single parenting my 3 beautiful kids. But in August of 24, so not too long after the hiatus, I met someone and I have since been in the most incredible relationship. And that relationship, if you follow me on Instagram, you'll know all about him. His name's Johnny. He's a wedding photographer, an incredible one at that, has done so many brand shoots for me since we met. In fact, the new podcast visuals, let me know what you think of those, came from one of those shoots. And yeah, but we met on Bumble, as you do. And it's a very me story. My friends are like, oh, this isn't fair. Why? Like apparently I didn't put the work in. I didn't like get in the trenches and, put in the graft because he was the very first and only person I spoke to. I downloaded the app and within days had already spoken to him and was arranging to meet him. So my Bumble experience was really good and incredibly short. So shout out Bumble. And yeah, and he lived just over an hour away from me. So I've been in this kind of whirlwind, like romance stuff going on. And I tell you this because life happens alongside business, right? And that for me, and I'm really grateful for it, has been a huge priority for me because you don't know when you're going to meet someone. You don't know what that connection is going to be like. And for us, it's been incredible, right? And so there has been a lot of traveling. There's been a lot of time spent. There's been a lot of logistics. I have 3 children. He has 3 children. We're grown-ass adults. So we have responsibilities. We have shit going on. It's not quite the same as when you're in your 20s or whatever. So many things to navigate. But now he's moved down here. I live in the South Coast near Brighton Hove. And so life is kind of steadied a little bit. We have a bit more of a rhythm, a bit more of a structure. And so when I look back on reflection, the podcast was one of those things that felt, I guess, something that I didn't have the space for, particularly because I was moving around. And any of you that create something like a podcast will know the commitment that's required, right? And the showing up in your studio every week or batching your content, and it was just falling by the wayside. And I think I really just want to, one, give you guys a little bit of insight, because I know I think I get more DMs about my new relationship. Well, I definitely get more DMs about my new relationship than anything else. Anything else. And I know he does too. So this was a little opportunity for me to let you, like, catch you up behind the scenes. It's what I've always loved about doing a podcast, is that we are taught, and all these platforms now just support such short form content, like let's get it all out in 30 seconds. But it's really hard, right, to have a heart-to-heart with the people that you work with or that you might want to work with. So one of the things I've always loved about podcasting, and I'm a massive podcast consumer, is that you actually get to plug your headphones in and have a little catch up with someone. So I felt like you guys might want a little catch up on how did this happen, what happened, like you guys seem so happy. We always get that. But yeah, but the other reason I tell you is because life comes in seasons, and there's no doubt in my mind, my last 2 years, probably before this last year, has been the hardest of my life, like navigating bereavement, navigating like moving on and changing the whole way my life looks and is structured, and supporting people through those changes that I made really hard decisions. All of that sort of stuff has just been so hard to navigate. And I just want you all to know that you too may be in different seasons of your life, and it's almost impossible to not allow those to have some sort of impact on how you run your business. So that's really why things have gone on a little break, or the podcast has gone on a little break. But what that little break has given me is actually, and as with anything, right, when you're in a new relationship, when you have big changes in your life, whatever might have happened, it really enables you to reassess. The last 3 years of my life, albeit those first 2 have been extraordinarily challenging, the last 3 have given me an opportunity to reassess and reevaluate and consistently ask myself the question, like, what is it I really want? Do I still want to be doing all of these things that I'm doing? That has given me an opportunity to reevaluate so many things and come back with a sense of real vigor and clarity, and just ready to make some big changes. So one of those big changes is the name of this podcast, right? So we've got new visuals. Let me know what you think. And we have a brand new name. So for years, this podcast was known as the Wellness Entrepreneur Podcast, and it is now called the Wellness Business Club. I always struggled with the word entrepreneur. I struggled with people aligning with it for a season of my business. It felt the best choice. But I now really want to just double down on my mission to help as many wellness business owners as possible to start and grow their businesses. That the Wellness Business Show just gives that, right? It gives that energy. It feels bigger. It feels like we're here. It feels like we're here to have big conversations. And so I'm really proud of the new name, but I would love your thoughts on it. Now, the second big evolution in my business, and I wanted to make this episode like a little bit of a treasure hunt, in that the stuff I'm telling you here is not available anywhere else. You might be able to get snippets, but you won't get this full picture. So my members inside my membership know this next juicy bit, but nobody else does. So my membership that, again, I've run for many years, called the Wellness Entrepreneur Collective. You see where I was going with the Wellness Entrepreneur brand. It has now been rebranded and will in future be called the Wellness Business Club. So we are going for a big rebrand in there. It hasn't been publicly shared yet inside the membership. It's now fully known as the club, everything we're doing inside the club, but I will be doing a public relaunch. So keep your eyes peeled for that. We already have a really exciting event that I have just today launched inside the club. So because of my new relationship, and because I have got these incredible brand shots now, and because clients of mine have been saying, hey, can Johnny come and do some brand shots for me? We've decided to put on a big event, probably quarterly, but then the first one's happening in November, called The Big Picture. And it's going to be a kind of strategy and shoot day, a few hours based in Brighton and Hove, so in person, and my members get first dibs. So it's gone out today. Members get first dibs. Members also get an insane price with 10 professional shots to use on website, Instagram, all those kind of places. So that's going to be a big, big new feature inside the Wellness Business Club. And there's just going to be more of these things where I really, really support those people inside the club, give them incentives, find new and creative ways to get together to support each other, because my vision with my membership has always been the same. I believe you need ongoing support in your business. Full stop. Now, I, as you know, have many programs that run for a certain amount of weeks. If you ever work with me one-to-one, we have our 12-week or 6-month packages. So I do believe in these kind of ring-fence times. But then I also believe that whenever you focus on something bigger, you then need to step back and have that regular support. So that's always what the membership has been about. And so I'm going to be looking at even more exciting and creative ways to support those of you inside. So head over to my website, go and have a little look. But it's going to now be called the Wellness Business Club. So, my lovely, these are just a few of the exciting changes that are coming and that are brewing in my business. There's loads more to come. The most exciting part for you and I right now is that the podcast is back and I'm going to be here every single week. I've got some awesome guests lined up. I've got some amazing topics to talk to you about. So a couple of months ago, as I started to tease the fact the podcast was coming back, I asked you to send in your questions, because I really want this podcast to be super valuable for you and also a place where you and I get into conversation. So the only downside of podcasting is that there isn't a two-way dialogue, right? So if we're over on Instagram, you can leave me a comment, whatever. But over here, we're a little bit stunted on that side of things. So asking you to send in questions is a really good way for me to have conversation with you. But on that note, please do always jump into my DMs over on Instagram. Whenever you've listened to a podcast, let me know your greatest takeaways. I just really, really love to hear from you. And actually, this reminds me to give you a nudge to come and leave us a review too. So when you first launch a podcast, you're all over that kind of stuff. And you know what? This is a relaunch, right? So if you have missed the podcast, you've ever listened to an episode and loved it, you're excited for it to be back, head over to wherever you listen to podcasts. Leave us a review. It would honestly mean the world. So the questions that I sent out, I've chosen a few to reply to. So let's dive in. Okay, this is from the lovely Chantel Rose. Chantel is Chantel Holistic Wellbeing over on Instagram. And Chantel says, how do you navigate visibility and vulnerability when your wellness brand is rooted in lived experience and activism, especially in a world that sometimes feels overwhelming or unsafe? Well, this feels like the perfect question to answer today. There's a certain element for sure of vulnerability that has prevented me from coming back. So I'm hoping that I'm embodying that today. But I think the really important bit, and I think a lot of business owners will experience this, but certainly a lot of wellness business owners, because the very reason that you got into the work you do will likely be as a result of a personal transformation. So maybe there was a time in your life where life was lifing, shit was hitting the fan, and you went on your own little quest, your own little journey of self-discovery. And maybe along that journey, you came across some gems, some wellness tools, some things that really helped you, some things that really helped to move the needle. Now, often there'll be one or two of those things that just stuck, like just shone through, right? That stuck out, that made you think, without these things, without these tools or this discipline or this practice, I'm not sure I'd be where I am right now. And then the curiosity comes up and you think, do you know what, I might go and train in this and I need to tell more people about, more people need to know. And I just think this for me is why I specialize in working with wellness business owners. One, because that was my story too, but also because what a freaking epic way to get into business, right? What a beautiful golden thread that weaves through your business. There's so few people that can wake up in the morning, go to work on their business and maybe feeling like, I don't know what to do today, I don't know what my main focus should be, but to have that kind of founding story, right? Brand story that moves them so much, that they are so personally connected to. But therein comes the challenge that Chantel's saying is like, that's all very well, but how do we navigate that when the world feels unsafe, right? And certainly we're in a time where, we've never felt that more, right? And I just think this always comes from putting yourself first. So the most important thing in life and in business is to make sure that your well-being, your wellness is nurtured. You are no use to anyone, your clients, your family, your friends, if you are running on empty, or if you're sharing from a place that doesn't feel healed, if you're sharing from a wound, if you're sharing from a place that feels messy and doesn't feel cared for and loved, right? So my message will always be here. And I think you know it. It's a really hard thing to teach because it's a feeling state, I would say. That when you come full circle with something, there tends to be a certainty. I feel it and experience it as a certainty that I'm good with this. I've processed this. I've come full. It doesn't mean that it's not emotive. It doesn't mean that it's not still alive. In fact, I often think that the aliveness is really important. That's what will allow you to share in your most authentic and truest self. But it won't feel too raw and too exposing. You don't owe your story to anyone. And actually, when I work with clients and we start to look at like their story and what they might want to share, it's really important that remains like that's your stuff, right? You're the owner of your story and you choose who to share it with. And I always say this to my kids, right? In just general life, like people have to earn your trust. So you don't, to kind of be allowed in and know who you are. I'm quite a private person, which I know a lot of people think, okay, but we see you all over Instagram sharing all the things. And perhaps even more so here on the podcast. But that's because I share what I feel ready to share in a way that feels really authentic because it is, right? So these things I share with you are real, they're authentic, they are genuine. But it doesn't mean I feel I have to share everything. There will be a lot of things I don't share, a lot of things I keep to myself. And I will only share what I feel comfortable to and what I feel, I kind of see it like, you know, imagine if it were a gem or a little present or something like that you were passing around a room. I've got past the parcel image in my head, but you'd be happy for that piece of information to be passed around the room. And actually, you'd be happy for that piece of information to be misconstrued, because it can be and it will be, because you're so rooted in its truth and you're so certain, not confident, certain that you are like anchored in and you have come full circle with whatever that thing is, that if someone were to misinterpret or question you about it, you are unwavering. So that for me is a really, really good benchmark. I hope that helps, Chantel. Okay, so our next question comes from one of my clients, Lynn Jarrett. And Lynn is saying, my issue is never quite following through with parts of my business that I want to evolve into. Shout it loud of people at the back. Who doesn't feel this sometimes? E.g. online course. Committing to a regular and definite social media style presence. I'm someone who actually really enjoys Instagram. I feel like it allows me to be creative in my business and talk about all the aspects of wellness that I employ to keep myself well. Growing, nutrition, sea swimming, yoga, chill time on my own. I intend to share regularly. I use organization tools and therefore having a definite day off without feeling like I should be doing something and can't really afford the time off is really hard. I think it's a confidence thing, an imposter syndrome thing, a family commitments and time thing. I don't always prioritize the above, which is why they don't happen. So I think the truth with this kind of stuff is, as I say, everyone can resonate. You have an idea, you have a future vision, but you just keep kicking the can down the road. Now, there's a few things going on here, or a few things that I would suggest have really helped me and help my clients. I think one of the first things is accountability. So that is one of the most valuable things I do for my clients. So whilst my offers and services are very varied and clients get a huge amount of resources and step-by-steps and how-tos and strategy sessions and all of the things, implementation sessions, I always come back to the main value I can offer, and I think all of us can offer, even with your clients. So if you're helping your client to improve their nutrition or improve their fitness, a lot of these people could go and find that information out themselves. And I think that's what Lynn's saying. It's like, I know what I need to do, but why am I not doing it? So accountability is huge. Having somebody who just checks in with that, knows the vision and keeps you on track. So that can look like a mentor, a membership, like a community of other business owners. It could look like a buddy, just a business bestie that you kind of jump on a Zoom with every Monday morning or whatever, have some check-in points through the week. But accountability is massive. Quite often we exist, us and our businesses exist in a bit of an echo chamber in our own kind of spheres, our own lives. Maybe your family don't know too much about your business, or they don't get too involved with the day-to-day. They kind of leave you to it. Maybe your friends don't run their own business, so they're kind of off doing their work. They don't quite get what you do anyway, so it's just a difficult conversation. And so you're left with you, yourself, and I, and no one to be accountable to. And so the actions and the steps that are going to help to really make that vision a reality end up going on the back seat. So there's other things that you can do. Often I find this is a tipping point. If you're in a business that's operations are so time consuming that you have no time to work on your business, only in it, usually that's a tipping point which requires some quite big boundaries in carving out time for that next step, because often then you become trapped in your business and you aren't able to scale it to those heights. So again, accountability can be really helpful there. Get someone to zoom out at your diary and your structure. I did this recently with a brand new one-to-one client. The first thing we did was look at her calendar and create space. Let's free up some white space here so we can actually start working on your business. And it changed the game. You can do other things like set aside certain days of the week, which might be your kind of like CEO days, where you just work on the vision and you don't get lost in the minutiae. And then a totally unrelated, like a non-strategic business step, but one that is game-changing for me, is your daily practices. So your kind of energy mastery, self-mastery practices. So I recently decided that I would commit to a 90-minute walk every single day. Now that 90-minute walk is, I get up early in the morning and I try and crack it out before work starts. Now what that does is it's uncomfortably long in the sense that people go 90 minutes, but it needs to be that long. One, so I can't rush it, because if I say to myself, I'm going to go for a walk and I'm busy, it will be 5 minutes. It needs to be long enough that I have to sit with myself. I have to kind of run through all of those mental checklists. I can do stuff on a walk. So I'll have my phone out. I'll create the plan for the day. I might even set up some emails, put out some posts in the community, whatever it is I need to do. But what happens on that 90-minute walk, without fail, whether I intend to do it or not, on an epic walk, I'm stopping to meditate for 15 minutes in that walk somewhere. On a less than epic walk, I am like plugged into some sort of meeting with my kids' school at that time, and it feels like the least inspiring thing ever. But regardless, I find that every single one of those requires me to check back in with my vision. Something about walking by the sea, something about it being so long that I kind of have to confront, what was I wanting to do this week? What hasn't gone right? What have I lost sight of? And I will be reminded frequently of that vision. And you might do that by, I know people that write out their goals every single day. So again, it becomes the front of your mind. It's so easy for the vision to seep backwards and be trumped by all of the things that you're doing day in, day out. So there's some ideas for you, Lynn. I hope that helped. Okay. This next question comes from Michelle, and Michelle is a holistic health coach and interior designer, interior.self, over on Instagram. So my question would be, what is the best way to grow your Instagram with followers that are soul aligned, actually want to buy from you? Most of my current followers are friends and family. Well, again, we have all been there, Michelle, so I feel you. I think that, so when you join the membership, you get my Instagram course. Now, you'll see in that, if you've done it or if you're about to do it, that my approach to Instagram is to make it like I often give the analogy of a party, right? Going to a party, going to an in-person event. This is about thinking about the different elements of Instagram and how you might move through them if there were a party. So how Instagram looks, your content, your grid, your stories, your highlights, your bio, the things we spend far too much time on. Those things are like your outfit to the party. Now we think they're the whole party, right? But actually, if I said to you, your outfit looks amazing, you've smashed it, you've nailed it, perfect for the occasion, you turn up and do nothing, do absolutely nothing. You just stand there in the corner, face like thunder. Why is no one coming over? And we can, AKA the algorithm. Why is no one coming over? Why is no one smiling? Why is no one engaging? What's happening? If you came to me as my friend and said I did the worst party ever, that's what happened. I'd be like, would you try and talk to anyone? No, I didn't try and talk to anyone. Okay. Did you did you do a bit of like mingling, a bit of mooching, like see who might be around, like see if there's any commonalities, there's any conversations you can strike up? No, I just sat there waiting for people to come to me. And that's what most of you are doing on Instagram. Most of us are doing on Instagram. So Michelle, what I would encourage you to do is move away from that stuff I talked about, the outfit analogy, and move into really authentic connections. Why should we expect people to come to us? Why should we work so hard on the presentation, but not go into the outreach, into the connection, into what's real and authentic? So I would be kind of mooching around Instagram, looking for people that could be a good fit. And I don't mean a good fit from a client perspective, although that absolutely should be in the back of your mind. But I mean a good fit from a perspective of alignment with you. You've said here, soul aligned. So people that you'd enjoy talking to, people that you'd enjoy working with, people that have similar shared values, because who knows where that will lead. Now, something really simple you can do is set yourself a challenge to go and strike up like 5 conversations a day with new people. Find an account you love, follow them, go and let them know why you love their account. It doesn't need to have an agenda, but withholding the vision that Instagram is going to become a place where you find people that are mega aligned to you, that share the same vision as you, and you're going to go and put yourself out there and make conversation and kind of be the thing that you want other people to be to you. Be the person that's jumping in the DMs and just being like, I loved your post about whatever, or this really resonated with me. I've got this going on in my life right now too. Or, oh my goodness, I live so close to you. I've just seen on your stories that you're here. I live down the road. Whatever it might be, they need to be real. They need to be authentic. But so often we stand on the sidelines and just think that everyone should come to us. Or that's how it works. So rather than focusing so much on the content, let's work on the connection. All right, my lovely ones, I promised myself that I wouldn't make this episode too long. That I just wanted to jump back into your ears and say, I'm back. And say the podcast is back, new visuals, new name, The Wellness Business Show, brand new membership upgrade, update of that name too, and so many more exciting things to come. So I'm really grateful to those of you that have come over today to give us a little listen. I promise and make that commitment that we are back. I would love, as always, to hear anything you want me to talk about. Jump over into my DMs. Let me know if you're excited that we're back. Let me know what things you'd like me to talk about in the coming months. And just come and say hi. There's nothing I love more than meeting podcast listeners, connecting over on Instagram, like I just said with that in that last story. Real genuine connections are everything to me. I have had so many universal nudges, various little messages from people saying they've still been listening to the podcast, which just means the world to me, even though there hasn't been an updated episode for a while. New people finding me through the podcast, these beautiful little gems of messages being like, the podcast did this for me, this episode resonated in this way, that I knew I had to bring it back. So I'd love to hear from you, and I cannot wait to speak to you again next week. All right, my lovelies, take care. See you soon. Bye.